if you lived in the King area in the 60s and you didn't know this guy, you must have been in a foxhole and didn't read the papers, see TV or whatever. Because the name Ed Millard was a legend. And he was, I think, in the 60s, the epitome of athleticism here at King. And to know what Ed accomplished is amazing. He may be getting a little old, but he looks pretty tough still to me. Back in the good old days, as we might say, Ed was a force to be reckoned with. And he was one of the first class at King, started in '61 when the school opened, escaped in '66. But before he did, he met a fellow named Dave Clutchy. And Dave came to King, and he was in the phys ed department, and he introduced wrestling. And that became Ed's joy. He was very athletic to start with. I mean, he was a football, I know he played baseball, and he did other things. He couldn't bounce a basketball very well, but he was an amazing athlete. And in 1966, he finished second at the OFSA Wrestling Championships. He went on to University at Guelph, and he won 4 CIAU and 4 AAU wrestling titles. Represented Canada in the Pan American, the Commonwealth, the Olympics, and the World Championships between 1967 and 1970. He won a bronze medal at the Pan Am Games in Winnipeg in '67. Finished 8th in the Olympics at Mexico City in '68. 4th in the Worlds in Argentina in '69. And won a gold in the 1970 Commonwealth Games in Edinburgh, Scotland. On the national scene, he was a junior wrestling crown, held that in 1967, was a Canadian Open champion from '67 to 1970. Not just 1 year, I mean all those years. And he's been inducted into the Canadian Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2002 and the University of Guelph Sports Hall of Fame. I have one comment personally. I mentioned about everybody knew Ed. And I went off to law school in 1972, and I met a fellow who's now a close friend of mine, and his name was Bernie O'Brien, and I happened to mention where I was from. He said, "Well, you must know Ed Millard." Bernie was from Oshawa. But he had met Ed at the University of Guelph, and I don't know if Ed would remember Bernie O'Brien.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, he had met you, and I think he had the odd ale with you. Not that I think he was drinking and you were having orange juice or something at the time, but he knew you, and I thought, this is remarkable. Some guy from Oshawa that I meet in Windsor knows a guy from King City. So his fame was well known here and at the University of Guelph. Ed's gone on to become a teacher. He's now retired, and he taught high school, and he's been living in the Sudbury area ever since, I guess, he got into teaching. Yeah. So he's made his home in Sudbury, and although he doesn't wrestle anymore, he's still involved in sports. And if any of you watch the Sudbury CTV station, you know that every year they have this huge dragon boat festival in the Sudbury area, and Ed is involved in that as well. The last part I want to read to you is another message from Sarge. I think it's likely about 4:30 in the Greek Islands right now, so Sarge is likely on his second beer. So he sends this message: congratulations, Ed, on your induction to KC's Case of Distinction. You, as many of us know, were fortunate when Dave Clutchy became the phys ed head in 1963. Dave introduced wrestling to all of us. To say you embraced it with open arms is an understatement. It shaped your future. I still admire your athletic prowess, your toughness, your underlying spirit to win. I remember your bout in Ottawa for the All-Ontario Gold Medal. Your opponent from London, Ontario, his name escapes me, looked to be the second coming of Goliath. As the match drew close to the end and you were ahead on points, your opponent, who must have been 6'4", 275, fell on you and he eventually won by a pin. What I remember most was you're trying to bridge out of it. And if anyone knows anything about wrestling, you can imagine how hard that would be. That display of determination, raw strength, and courage defined Ed Millard. Congratulations, Ed, Sarge. Ed?
I'm not sure if I want to be remembered for losing, but regardless, I want to thank the committee very much. I'm very honored by being invited here, and it certainly is a pleasure to be in front of you. Normally when you do one of these, you're trying to do something motivational. I happen to be the senior citizen here, but most of you people are getting there too, so there's really no motivation. It's either too late or it's already been done. I'll just fill in a few things. Dave Clucci definitely was a leading factor in my life. It's not Clutchy, by the way, it's Clucci.
Sorry.
That's all right. And I was here, I came to King City when the school opened. The first year I was grade 9 at Aurora, came to the school when it opened, and they had put some excellent staff together. Clucci was the first head of department, and Ed Sargentson was a rookie teacher that year, so you'll get an idea of the way things work. Clucci was a disciple of a chap named Mike, that's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, originally the high school wrestling in Ontario was started by this one graduating class from the University of Western Ontario. And every team that was, every wrestler that was of any consequence was a student of one of these teachers out of that graduating class. And Dave Clucci happened to be one of them. So I think my career is probably influenced in the wrestling end of it. Just by being in the right place at the right time, and some other people have alluded to that. You know, if you've got the right, and you have to have a little bit of things, a few things going for you, but if you're around the right people and things fall into place, it's really amazing how things work out by themselves. I'm presently retired. I've finished a high school career in Sudbury. I still live in the town, and I'm fairly active in quite a few community service things. And I still coach, actually. I do a high school team and I do a club team in volleyball. You'd never think of me being in volleyball, but it happens. Yeah. And it was too bad I couldn't get my wife down here. She has some other commitments, but I certainly don't mean to demean it. And it's been a lot of fun being in this building. It's the first time I've been in this building since the year after I graduated. So it's certainly an experience. You have a hard time just even remembering where things were and how they were. And I still get in the conversations before, I'm starting to get some names that ring a lot of bells. I didn't realize that those teachers were still around. Thank you very much.